Hi everyone, I'm Wafalango and welcome you all in Grammar in Detail. If you are new and not subscribed the channel, so please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon to get some more videos about grammar. Today we'll be discussing the ditransitive verb read from active voice into passive voice, how we are going to change it into passive voice in 4 ways. Before starting this, we will put a glance on the definition of ditransitive verbs. Di means to, transitive which can be changed into passive voice, verb which shows an action. Those verbs which need two objects. Keep in your mind those verbs which need two objects and can be changed in passive voice into 4 ways. And we can change them in passive voice in how many ways? 4 ways. Are called the di or ditransitive verbs. Ditransitive verbs need two objects and can be changed into passive voice in 4 ways. And ditransitive verbs need one direct object and one indirect object. Direct object means all non-livings and indirect object means all livings. Direct objects we have got, those are known as the non-livings, and indirect object means all livings. Clear? So this is what they need two objects. Now we will have the examples from our today's ditransitive verb. Read. For example, I say you read me. Now definitely you cannot read me. I am not a newspaper or an article. You'll read me. For that you need to put the second object. And if I say you read an article or any newspaper article, so over there you will read an article, but for whom? So for that you have to bring the both objects, then the meaning will be clear and understandable. Over there it is clear, but if you put the both objects, that will be more clear and understandable. The listener won't be confused. Suppose I say you read me an article. So over there you read an article, you read me what? An article. You read an article for whom? For me. So over there are two objects by which the meaning is clear and understandable. This is the first way. You can change it in another way. In active voice, if you want to shuffle the places, mostly we bring indirect object at the beginning, direct at the end, but you want to shuffle the places, like me in the place of article and article in the place of me. So your indirect object means me will be followed by a preposition, and that is what? For. So your sentence in second way will be as followed: you read an article for me. So this is what there are two ways to change them into active voice. So just you will add an article, that is for, in second way. So these are the sentences of ditransitive verb read from in active voice in 2 ways. Main target, how we are going to change it from active voice into passive voice. And today we have got the ditransitive verb that is known as read in modal auxiliary verb ought to. We will just put a glance on the definition of ought to. Before, in previous lecture, we talked about must, that was used for 100% authority, and ought to. Most of the students are asked that what is the difference between must and ought to. Must and ought to both are used for obligatory. Here you have got the authority to do an action and you need to do it. For that we'll be using must and ought to. But must is more stressable than ought to, and ought to is less stressable than must. And must is used for 100%, ought to is used for 75%, and that is 85%, sorry, that is used for 85%. So this is known as a modal auxiliary verb ought to. Now we have got the simple sentences. Those sentences which make simple statement are called simple sentences. I say you ought to read me an article. You ought to read an article for me. And there are 4 ways to change them into passive voice. Before changing them, we will just put a glance on the rules of passive voice. When you bring your subject in the place of object, like you make it by you, so over there by you is not called object, but it is called agent. What is agent? It tells us who does an action in a sentence. So most of the students, they think that you is object, but that is not object, that is called agent, and it tells us who does an action. So see over there, by you is by you action is being performed, so there your object, it is not called object, but that is called agent. And when you bring object me, you make I and an article as it is in the place of subject. Here you bring it, here it will be called no doubt subject, but it will not be called the doer of an action, but it will be called the title and topic subject. And what is title and topic subject? A person, place or a thing in a sentence which we are talking about is called title and topic subject. In first and second sentence we are talking about a person, in third and fourth sentence we are talking about an article, means a thing. So keep in your mind, when you bring the indirect object in the place of subject, you make it title subject in first and second. So by you comes at the beginning, an article at the end, an article at the beginning, by you at the end. And in third and fourth sentence, when you bring the direct object, means the non-living, in the place of title subject in third and fourth sentence. So by you comes at the beginning, for me at the end, for me at the beginning, by you at the end. Sentences will be as followed: I ought to be read by you, an article, I ought to be read, an article, by you, an article ought to be read by you for me, an article ought to be read for me by you. Next we have got negative sentences. Those sentences in which we deny the statement are called negative sentences. You ought not to read me an article, you ought not to read an article for me. I ought not to be read by you an article, I ought not to be read an article by you. An article ought not to be read by you for me, and an article ought not to be read for me by you. Next we have got interrogative sentences. Those sentences in which we ask questions, put queries, are called interrogative sentences. Ought you to read me an article, ought you to read an article for me. Ought I to be read by you an article, ought I to be read an article by you. Ought an article to be read by you for me, ought an article to be read for me by you. So these are the sentences, in active voice into passive voice with interrogative. And keep in your mind, read second form is and third form is read. It is spelled same but pronounced read, and you'll not write it red read, but you'll not write it as a red, but you'll pronounce it as a color red. Clear? So that is the second and third form. Reading is the ing form, and reads is the ses form, means the fifth form. Next we have got the formal sentences. Those sentences in which we ask questions, deny the statement, and we ask them in a formal way, polite way, respective way, and their complete name is negative, interrogative, formal sentences. These are used with our seniors, with our elders. We use it with one whom you are not close with, and that is known as the formal sentences, in a polite way, respective way. Ought you not to read me an article, ought you not to read an article for me. Ought I not to be read by you an article, ought I not to be read an article by you. Ought an article not to be read by you for me, ought an article not to be read for me by you. Next we have got informal sentences, that is in the last, and the complete name for informal sentences is negative, interrogative, informal sentences. What are informal sentences? Those sentences in which we ask questions, deny the statement, and we ask them in an informal way are called informal sentences, and they are used with youngers, juniors, whom you are not close, whom you are close with, friendly atmosphere, and we ask them in a irrespective way, disrespectful way. Ought not short form is oughtn't, and it will be separated by you subject and then to. So oughtn't you to read me an article, oughtn't you to read an article for me. Oughtn't I to be read by you an article, oughtn't I to be read an article by you. Oughtn't an article to be read by you for me, oughtn't an article to be read for me by you. So these are the sentences of ditransitive verb read in modal auxiliary verb ought to. Hope you got today's lecture. Wish you best of luck. See you next time with next lecture. And if you are new and not subscribe the channel, so subscribe the channel, press the bell icon, like the videos for more information. See you next time. Bye bye.